Очень чесать.
Никакой нет.
Трудно. Hello. Okay, let's wait some minute. It shows that students are trying to connect to the audio. Okay. They have. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Mariam, there's no one in the waiting room, right? Everybody's
Yes.
okay. Okay, good. Well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
We appreciate your time. We know that some of you is very late. Thank you for staying up late to join us, to support us. Thank you. Since there are some new students, my students, I would like to, guys, introduce you to Mariam. Mariam is my colleague. She's teaching Eastern Armenian. And for Mariam's students, I'm Ani. I teach Western Armenian. Very nice to meet you all. So today we are going to talk about a topic that we have to talk about every year. No matter how hard it is, we have to talk about it. We have to commemorate. We have to always fight for our rights. And we have prepared a video for you. We're going to share it and talk about it. But before it, just a quick introduction to the topic, to what AGBU AVC does for the recognition of the Armenian genocide. And you know that April is a month of genocide recognition and also denial. And unfortunately, up until 3 years ago, we're only commemorating the Armenian genocide victims of 1915 in the Ottoman Empire. And unfortunately, today, on April 24, 2 days ago, and in the whole month of April, we are commemorating also the genocide victims of Artsakh, this new modern way of genocide that happened 3 years ago in Artsakh during the 44-day war, and also the events that happened on this September. Over the years, AGBU AVC has organized different educational projects and events to raise awareness and educate wider audiences about the different aspects of genocide and contribute to the preservation of the collective memory of the Armenian nation, which is very important. Of course, emphasizing the strength, resilience, determination, and the big ability to overcome most traumatic crises. As part of the AGBU AVC mission to unite students from all around the globe, it brought together descendants of Armenian genocide survivors and provided a platform to share their untold family histories of survival and hope in the scope of the project called My Armenian Story of Survival. Just a second. I want to share my screen with you. Okay, so the project is called, as I said, My Armenian Story of Survival. The descendants of the Armenian genocide, our students who wanted to share their stories with us, the untold stories of their families, participate in the project. And if you are interested in the project to see, to read the stories, you can go to our website, and in the special program section, you will be able to find all of the stories. Here you can see some of them. If you click on them, you would have access to the whole parts where you have videos, narration, and it's really very interesting. And another important note that I would like to give is that if you have stories on your own, your family stories, and you would like to share your stories with us so that we can post your stories with pictures, everything that you have, letters, books, anything, you just need to email us if you would like to participate in the project. It's highly encouraged, of course. We'll be very happy to do that, and we'll share your story of survival and hope on our page so that it reaches wider audience, to our students and to everyone who is interested in. This is about the project, and as I said, we have prepared video presentation for you, and we are going to talk about, first of all, the Armenian genocide of 1915 with a short video with some the most important segments, and then we will talk about Artsakh, because today it's not possible really to talk about the Armenian genocide, the exodus, the cleaning of nation from an ancestral land, and not to touch the topic Artsakh. But what we decided to do, and you will feel this in the video, we didn't want only to concentrate on the exodus and the genocide, the modern way of cleaning a whole nation, but first of all, we'll give you some historical information about Artsakh. What happened that, one day Azerbaijan started to declare that this land, with its 97% of the population being Armenian, started to say that this is their own land. We will talk about it, and we'll virtually visit Artsakh to see how beautiful the land is. And at the end of the video, we will see how Artsakh looks today, when people, Armenians, are no longer living in their ancestral homes. We'll talk about the war crimes that happened in Artsakh. This is the outline of today's event, and we are going to switch off our videos for better quality and starting the event. In case you would have questions, we'll be very happy to answer it at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
On April 24, 1915, Turkish authorities in the Ottoman Empire began to systematically exterminate their Armenian subjects. Over the next 3 years, hundreds of thousands of Armenians were deported from their ancestral towns and villages. These so-called deportations consisted of death marches into the desert where men, women, and children died of dehydration, starvation, and disease. If, that is, they had not already succumbed to torture, rape, and murder along the way. In the end, up to 1.5 million Armenians were massacred. The centennial of the Armenian genocide was marked all over the world on April 24, 2015. While this day was dedicated to commemorating the victims, there were also demonstrations demanding recognition of the genocide. Why? Because the Turkish government still denies that the systematic slaughter of the Armenians in 1915 constituted genocide. This, despite countless eyewitness testimonies, news reports, and government documents from Armenian, Turkish, German, British, and American sources, such as the U.S. ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, Henry Morgenthau, who tried to convince his government to put a stop to what he called the murder of a nation. While more than 25 countries, including Canada, have officially acknowledged the genocide, this cannot make up for the fact that Turkey continues its denialism. Does it even matter that Turkey refuses to recognize the Armenian genocide 100 years later? Or is it important to recognize this fact in history and challenge genocide denial? How might our point of view affect the way that we interpret our past and future actions? First, to tolerate genocide denial is to be complicit in the last stage of genocide. Extermination took away 1.5 million innocent lives. Denial threatens to take away the very memory of those lives. If denial succeeds, it will look as if the victims had never even existed. Following this rationale, if denial is allowed to erase genocide from history books, it would be impossible to commit to the mantra, never again. In 1939, Hitler stated, "The aim of war is to annihilate the enemy physically." Who today still speaks of the massacre of the Armenians? Could recognition of the race murder of the Armenians have discouraged Hitler from his own genocidal designs, and perhaps help to minimize the occurrence of future genocide? Encouragingly, over the past few years, in what Turkish-American historian Taner Akçam calls the other Turkey, a growing number of Turkish writers, intellectuals, and human rights advocates have publicly acknowledged the Armenian genocide and courageously called for the Turkish government to do the same, to come to terms with history. Although we often dismiss history as nothing more than times past, we must recognize that it informs our current and future perspectives, beliefs, and values. It's important, therefore, to acquire and maintain a truthful, uncensored account of our history, including the pages that bring us shame, as well as those that make us proud.
The historical territory, now called Artsakh, has been part of Armenia since ancient times. It was part of the kingdom of Van from the invasions of Sarduri II. At that time, it was named after Urtեղ. Then Artsakh continued to be part of Greater Armenia during the times of Yervanduni dynasty, Artashesian dynasty, Arshakuni dynasty, and later already during the rule of Bagratuni and Zakarian. During the years of the First Republic of Armenia, Artsakh continued to be part of Armenia. In the period from May 1918 to April 1920, the armed units of Azerbaijan, supported by Turkey, carried out violence and massacres against the Armenian population. However, with the direct intervention of Joseph Stalin, a decision was made to include Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Soviet Azerbaijan and to establish an autonomous region in that territory. In May 1991, the beginning of the Artsakh War was announced. It was reported that an estimated 5,856 and 6,000 Armenian military fatalities and 1,264 Armenian civilians were killed between 1988 and 1994. Unable to resist the Armenian forces, the enemy asked for a ceasefire, which was signed on May 12, 1994. However, after the signing of the ceasefire, provocative actions by Azerbaijan continued and became regular. By not reaching an agreement in the negotiation process and violating the ceasefire in the early morning of September 27, 2020, Azerbaijan started active shelling along the entire line of contact. The hostilities ended on November 10 with a joint statement by Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia, as a result of which the Artsakh Republic lost most of its territories and the status of Artsakh remained unclear. Armenian Apostolic Medieval Monastery Complex, situated in Dadivang, Artsakh, left side to the river Tartar, historically used to be the spiritual prelacy and also known as Khutavang, monastery on the hill. For the first time in a while, the monastery is mentioned in some bibliographic resources. According to a legend, the monastery was founded by Saint Dadi, a disciple of Thaddeus the Apostle in the 1st century. In July 2007, the grave of Saint Dadi was discovered under the holy altar of the main church. In 1145, the monastery was destroyed by Seljuks, but it was rebuilt in 1170. There are many khachkars saved from those times. Tigrankert Tigranakert is located in the southeast of the Martakert region of the Artsakh Republic, on the right bank of the Khachen River. It was built in the 1st century BC by the Armenian king Tigran the Great. The historians of the 7th century Sebios and Movses Karankatvatsi mentioned about Artsakh's Tigranakert. It existed as a settlement until the late Middle Ages and was in the territory of Khachen. During the Soviet period, Tigranakert was located in the Aghdam region. The exact location of Tigranakert was discovered in 2005 during archaeological excavations. In 2006, excavations began in Artsakh's Tigranakert. One of the most important finds of the excavations is the Armenian inscription. Holy Savior Cathedral is an Armenian apostolic cathedral in Shushi, Artsakh. It was built in 1868 to 1887 by the local residents. The architect was Simon Terhagopian. It is considered to be the second most important spiritual center in Artsakh after the monastery of Gandzasar. The architectural complex consists of a church and a bell tower. The inscription of the belfry testifies that it had been built 10 years earlier than the church itself. Usually the belfry is built after the construction of the church. The next one, Shushi Castle, is Armenian castle settlement from Middle Ages. It is located in Artsakh Republic in Shushi city. Shushi Castle belongs to Melik Shahnazarian, who was the ruler of Varanda. The castle is mentioned in different ways, Karagluh, Kar, etc. It is often called Shushi Castle because people from neighbor Shushi hid there during the attacks. Saint John the Baptist Church, commonly known as Ganat Jam, is an Armenian apostolic church located in the Republic of Artsakh, Shushi. Ganat Jam means green chapel, as there was a time when the church domes were painted green. Ganat Jam has unique architectural innovations. Over the entrance to the chapel, there is an Armenian inscription. Shushi Carpet Museum was opened in 2013 in Shushi's Art Center. It includes more than 250 carpets made from the end of 17th century to the beginning of the 19th century, which present the features of carpet making art. The purpose of building the museum was to protect Artsakh's traditional carpet from forgetfulness and from destructions by Azerbaijan. There are exhibits which have life more than hundreds of years. The order of the initiative is by Vartan Asatryan, who presented that the Turkish wanted to destroy the Armenian manuscript in carpet art and actualize the ideology of Pan-Turkism on Armenians. Turkish collected Armenian carpets from Armenian villages and exchanged with new ones or with other products. Now the museum's permanent exhibition includes 120 carpets from 300. The Shushi Carpet Museum is an invaluable institution that testifies about Artsakh's traditions about carpet making, which is a great opportunity to study the famous carpet making of Artsakh. Okhta Ternivang Monastery, with multiple doors, is a monastery located in Hadrut, Artsakh. It is located 3.5 kilometers far from the village Mokhrenes, mountainside of Yuhusen. The monastery, similar to many other Armenian cathedrals built in the 7th century, is unique and includes some architectural elements of all Christian worship. The monastery is fully designed from crude and undefined stones. There are no lithographic inscriptions from those ages, only 2 khachkars. One of them is located in deep altar of the church below the window, and the second one is located in the churchyard inside of the ruined chapel. The first khachkar is very simple, designed by the 10th to 12th century style. The Khachkar is known as the oldest one in Artsakh as it was built 47 years earlier than Ghazar Khachkar. And the last monastery is Gchabang, which is a monastic complex located at 1.8 kilometers northwest of Togh village, the Hadrut region of the Republic of Artsakh. Construction began in 1241 and was completed in 1248. In the 15th century, Gchabang also became a cultural center. The monument of Gchabang is one of the famous monuments of the centuries, with its high architectural features. The stone masons of Artsakh are not confined to their architectural environment. They are newer and more beautiful in harmony with the magnificent nature, with the proportion of the different parts of the complex, with the restrained shapes of the facade decoration.
And from now on, so you saw how beautiful the country looked. You saw how beautiful the churches, the museums are. And now, unfortunately, we're going to show you the way that all of this looks nowadays. I'm going to give you information, about the war, about what happened to Artsakh, about the blockade, about the humanitarian crisis and everything. And meanwhile, while I'll tell you the details, you are going to watch um, some videos of Azerbaijan soldiers destroying the monuments and the churches and the cemeteries. And meanwhile, I will give you some details. So, you know that on September 27, 2020, Azerbaijan launched a full scale war to Artsakh, which lasted 44 days, and Turkey provided a great military support. The war was marked by the deployment of drones, sensors, long range heavy artillery, and missile strikes, as well as by state propaganda. Following the capture of Shushi, which is the second largest city in Nagorno Karabakh, you can see the look of the city right now. A ceasefire agreement was signed. At the time of the ceasefire, Azerbaijan had taken most of the area south of the Lachin corridor, which is the humanitarian corridor that links Armenia to Artsakh and Artsakh to the whole world. So they had also captured one third of Nagorno Karabakh, mostly in the south. So after the war, the Armenians who moved the Armenians living in Artsakh who had been living in Armenia, I mean, who had come to Armenia during the war, they returned and they with the hope that they will live their normal life there. But exactly 2 years later, on December 2020, the so-called environmental protests started, and the Azerbaijani government launched a blockade of the Republic of Artsakh by sending citizens claiming to be eco-activists, and they blocked the Lachin corridor. So Artsakh's main road that was connecting the country with the rest of the world was blocked. So, military personnel, civil servants, members of pre government NGOs, and youth organizations were among the so called activists. The Azerbaijani government consolidated its blockade by seizing territory around the Lachin corridor, both within Artsakh and Armenia, blocking alternative bypass routes, and installing military checkpoints. Azerbaijan has also sabotaged critical civilian infrastructure of Armenia. So they had no access to gas, electricity, and the internet. The blockade led to a very bad humanitarian crisis for the population. Because the essential goods also were blocked, and as well as humanitarian convoys of Red Cross and Russian peacekeepers were also deprived. They were having no goods at all. The pharmacies were empty, the markets were empty, so they also people were walking miles in order to go to the hospitals. Still, but there was no medicine there. So, human rights organizations, academics specializing in genocide studies, and politicians consider the blockade to be a form of ethnic cleansing and have warned the risk of the genocide. The founding prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Luis Ocampo, describes this blockade as a genocide. And then after this, people who were thirsty and who have been hungry for uh, 9 months between 19 and 20 of September 2023, Azerbaijan launched a large-scale military offensive against the republic, a move seen as a violation of the ceasefire agreement. Artsakh authorities stated that Stepanakert and other cities were being heavily shelled, accusing Azerbaijan of attempt ethnic cleansing. After the fighting ended on September 21st, Azerbaijan opened the border for the first time in months to allow people to leave, and tens of thousands of Armenians began to flee out of Lachin corridor. On 24th of September, Azerbaijan opened the Lachin corridor for residents to travel one way to Armenia. A mass evacuation of ethnic Armenian civilians from the region started, fearing prosecution and ethnic cleansing if they remain. At least 198 soldiers and 25 civilians were killed. And the residents, about 100,000 Armenians, were moved from their ancestral places. The exodus began, and chaotic scenes in Artsakh blamed for a massive explosion and fire at a fuel depot outside Stepanakert on September 24. This was another tragedy. About 218 people died. The Armenian authorities maintain that Karabakh's depopulation is the result of ethnic cleansing. In October, Armenian human rights ombudsman accused Azerbaijan troops of committing war crimes during the assault. There are many bodies, including of civilians, transported from Artsakh to Armenia that carry signs of torture and mutilation, she said. So in this last video, we can see the so-called military trophy park in Baku that contains war trophies, tanks, different military things, and models of Armenian soldiers that were seized by armed forces of Azerbaijan. The park was condemned due to its display of helmets of dead Armenian soldiers. Here I would like to say that the UN International Court of Justice in The Hague opens hearings in Armenia versus Azerbaijan case. As part of its case, Armenia has submitted a number of claims indicating policy of promoting hatred. So the first complaint concerns the 2020 war in Nagorno-Karabakh and the violations. The second one refers to what Armenians view as the illegal trials of Armenians captured by Azerbaijan at different stages of the conflict, because with the September events, many Armenian high-ranking officials were arrested in Lachin corridor as war criminals, and still they are kept in Baku. So the third complaint refers to the presence of Azerbaijani armed units in the sovereign territory of Armenia right now. And the fourth one refers to all violations that occurred in the territory of Artsakh, including the displacement of Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians in September 2023. After all this information, I think we need to leave it to the wider audiences to answer to the question, can Armenians live safely close to Azerbaijan? Is it possible to say that the life of Armenians will be protected under these conditions? This is all we have prepared for you, dear friends. If you have any questions, any comments, you are welcome to.
Paraf says,
Aref?
hello, Miss. How are you?
Hello.
Miss Mariam, sorry, I can't join to you last to listen because I have too much work. And then even now I am in the hospital. Then I tried to find the link. Then I joined last moment. With my question that can I see it again? Is it recording?
Yes, it's being recorded now, and I will send it later to you. Thank you.
Merci.
Mm-hmm.
Merci. Շնորհակալություն.
Շնորհակալություն.
Okay, any questions?
Well, it's all very hard
Should
to
I?
see and Ayo.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you now. Yes, please.
This is just very hard to see and to take in, to comprehend. We're still getting reports, at least here in the States, that Azerbaijan continues to encroach into Armenian territory. What is the Armenian government response to that?
Oh, such a tough question. You're right. I don't know what to tell the truth, because I don't know what to tell, unfortunately. I hope I could answer to your question saying that officially, like as a country, we are fighting hard for our rights, for the rights of Artsakh Armenians, for the rights of these people to go back to their homes, for releasing all these POWs that that were arrested in such an illegal way. But unfortunately, I cannot say that. It's just different organizations, different individuals who are trying to do this. And I'm very ashamed to tell this, but as a country, in an official way, we are not doing that. And even when I was telling about the International Court of Justice in Hague, this is, I don't know, the thousands and hundreds of cases that is going to be listened in the Hague, but nothing is going to change, because you have to do some real hard steps in order to see results, which we are not doing. Unfortunately. Anything else, Iris? Do you have anything to add? Any questions? No? Okay. Let us thank you then for your time, for being with us today, for staying up late again to talk about this very important topic, because yes, maybe what we do is not enough to change something, but we have to continue our fight, because if we stop, it means that we are forgetting what happened to our ancestors and what happened to Armenians in Artsakh 3 years ago, 1 year ago. How hard it is, no matter how hard it is, I think this is the fate of Armenians, to always fight for their rights. in a certain time, in a certain period, harder, as in a certain time, not as hard as we have to, but individually and as a community, we have to do what we can. And to raise awareness, of course. Thank you for your time, and we do hope to meet you again in group sessions or in individual calls. So good night for those who is late, and have a nice day for those who the day started. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bye-bye.
Miss. Yes, bye bye.
Bye.